Hello, it is June 24th, 2021, and this is the weekly Backdrop developer meeting. We get together every week to talk about development, priorities, and active issues and blockers that are happening in the Backdrop issue queue. We'll go ahead and do introductions as we normally do. I'm Nate Lampton. I'm a core committer in Oakland, California. Robert, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet in Altadena, California, and working on various things, lately documentation in the main site. And I will pass it to Justin.
I'm Justin Christopherson in Denver, Colorado, and I help out with infrastructure tasks as needed. And I'll pass it to Tim.
I am Tim Erickson. I am here in Deerwood, Minnesota, and I wish I were saying I were putting a lot of time in Backdrop Live right now, but I'm not doing as much as I should. Anyways, that's my main focus for the next 2 weeks is Backdrop Live, coming up on July 9th and 10th. Whoever's left, if anybody.
There is no one left. That's it for us present today. Let's see, we have a couple of new contributed projects. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had this meeting posted publicly, so there's kind of a longer list. There's the new contrib modules include image link to file, multiple email addresses, session API, mass password reset, and simple timeline modules. There may be one more, I'm not quite sure, depending on when we cut this off, but thank you for the new contrib modules. It's really exciting to see them coming in. Also acknowledge that we have an open session application for Joel Steedle. Really excited to see your work coming in for the new SendGrid port. Thank you very much as that all comes together. Let's see. One thing that we have been discussing prior to turning on the recording is the format of weekly meetings. It was noted that we didn't have a recording last week. We're trying out some adjustments to the way that we use these meetings to make them a little less repetitive, where we want to have like new and engaging things that we talk about every week rather than going over the same like bullet list of issues every week. But one of the problems that we've run into is that we don't really know what it is that we're going to discuss prior to the meeting beginning if it's different every week. And so we have a little bit of a tooling problem that we don't have a way to collect like what's going to be on the agenda, make that publicly available and allow people to add stuff to it. We keep our agendas right now in a Google Drive that a lot of people have access to, but not everyone. And the process of adding something to the agenda is just going to the document and writing it in there. And I think that process isn't, well, first of all, it's not documented anywhere how you add stuff to the agenda. And even if it were documented, it's still kind of a gated place. So well, Robert was making the suggestion that in any case, we need to have the agendas available beforehand. How to actually do that, we're not quite sure yet. We need the ability for people to be able to add things to the agenda, and then for everyone to be able to look at what those agendas are beforehand. And it's hard to disagree that having agendas that are regularly updated and available before the meetings would be more helpful to make it so that the meetings are more productive. Because as we found out last week, where we came in and just kind of everybody had their ideas about what to do, we spent a lot of the meeting like heads down, like trying to understand what the problems were during the entire course of the meeting. It didn't make for a very interesting like video recording, because it was basically everybody just looking at the issues, reading them, and every now and then like every 5 minutes somebody would say something or announce something saying, hey, I understand what this issue is, or this is the status of this. So as a working session, it was very productive. But as a recording and communication device from like, community leaders to people that are just interested in checking in on backdrop status, it wasn't the best use of the time. So for now, we're not really sure where we're going to head with this. For today, we're kind of falling back to the status update approach. I think if we want to discuss more about the format of the meetings now, acknowledge some of the things that people have been saying on Zulip. There's a big conversation about how the meetings are run and how recordings are useful versus how we can use the meetings. So yeah, I think Tim or Robert, Justin, if you guys have any thoughts or anything that I haven't mentioned, yeah, I'd love to get your guys's feedback as well.
I'll just say, without advocating for or against any particular idea, that one thing that was talked about a lot in Zulip this week was some sort of alternating between working sessions and more structured agendas. But there's also some strong concern from some people that this is their only chance to sort of connect in during a week. And they, I think they like the more structured meetings. So there's some differing opinions out there. And I see value in all of them.
Yeah, we also did some slight brainstorming on tooling that we could possibly use. Using a GitHub issue queue was thrown out there as like one option that would be kind of consistent with some of our other tooling, or using a backdrop driven solution like a web form submission, or even like some kind of issue queue or forum or something like that, that we could also do. That's kind of interesting. I wonder, like using the forum itself as agendas. We haven't discussed that as a thing. Like if there was just a one of the categories in the forum was weekly meetings, and each agenda was like a node basically, where we would say like this is the agenda, and that people wouldn't be able to necessarily edit it, but they could post comments on it prior to the meeting beginning, and then that would be a publicly accessible way to see the agendas. Also would be good for historical reference, because similar to like putting stuff into the Google Drive, once it's there, a lot of people don't know how to find or access the past agendas. But the downside being that the reason we use Google Docs in the first place is because it's asynchronous. As you type, everybody can see the changes happening, so it's beneficial in that way. But in reality, we usually only have like 2 people, maybe 3, actually actively typing into the agenda at any given time. So we're not actually overly dependent upon that live as you type functionality. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe we could even just cross-link them. Have a Google document and a forum post. I guess that's almost what we do right now but we use Zulip as a place of kind of discussion of where things are happening. I don't know. There are definitely some options out there. As with most things, the approach that we normally do is we give it a shot. We like try it and see if it works. So yeah, if you guys have ideas about what it is that we should try, yeah, I'd like to know, and then we can just give it a shot. Robert, I saw that you had a slight look of agreement possibly, or like, oh, maybe that would work for the forum post. Am I reading that correctly?
Now for the forum post, actually, what I was thinking was how to make, if there's discussion of agenda topics, how to collapse a lot of discussion into a smaller agenda might be actually a challenge. I guess since we're recording, I will throw out another idea that perhaps we could use a module like a ticketing system, which makes it frictionless for people to put in an item, to include some description of what it's all about, but that also makes it easy to see a summary view of all of the submitted items. So something like that might also be a core of the way of implementing it. But I think it probably requires going off and doing some research to see and try something out. I want to mention one aspect of the agenda that sort of couples to the use of the Google Doc is if it's possible to not only submit agenda items and see what the agenda items are, but during the meeting to enter in the resolutions or what actions are taken, so that that agenda even becomes, as the Google Doc is, a record of what went on, what was decided. That would also be pretty helpful.
Yeah, you're right that we do updates like as we go, like, you know, what the status of things are. Yeah, interesting. That makes me think that possibly doing the cross-linking might be the lowest friction option, because it won't change the way that we use our tool right now. It'll just surface the agendas into a new location as being like, hey, here's the new location. But Tim mentioned before the meeting that the trouble there is that means that we need to actually put in the work that after a meeting ends, we need to make the next week's agenda, post that publicly, and make it available, because the absence of an agenda up until right before the meeting means that there's no time for people to actually put in their topics. So we definitely require additional work to do that. And maybe what that should be then is that instead of ending at 3 o'clock, sorry, that's Pacific time where I live, ending at the top of the hour, where we kind of run right up until the hour, and then we say, okay, we have to drop dead end this call because a lot of people have other meetings and hard stops. We could do it like 5 minutes beforehand and say, okay, here's the hard stop at 5 minutes before, and then leave that 5-minute space to do the agenda setup for the next week, possibly. Okay, well, I like that we continue to have these discussions about how to most effectively use our time. I am pleased that everybody seems to think that having a once a week check-in of some kind is a great idea. It's just that we're battling over how to actually use the time that we have allocated. I've not heard a single person say, we just shouldn't have meetings, because everybody acknowledges that the meetings are providing some value. It's just a matter of how can we get the most value out of them. Okay, well, let's move on from that topic, and we'll kind of go into the status update, if that's okay with everyone. Before there is a note here about the events section. Tim, you already mentioned Backdrop Live is upcoming. Do you want to say anything further about that? What are the dates again?
The dates are July 9th and 10th. Registration is live. It's $20 suggested donation, but we really want everybody to participate with or without a donation. We recognize that this is prime vacation time, so a lot of people aren't available, but if you are available, please join us for some, a day, a little over 24 hours of structured or semi-structured discussions and about backdrop related topics. So in the previous, I sort of showed the schedule, how it looks so far in the previous recording for our outreach meeting, although the outreach meeting isn't properly titled, so I need to change the name of that so that you'll find it. But it's only a short 10-minute video, so if you want to look at that, you'll get some more updates on Backdrop Live. Okay, that's it.
Great, and that registration website is events.backdropcms.org.
Yes, and I'm going to on camera, Nate, tell you that I just penciled you in for the same things you did at the last Backdrop Live. And it's up to you to change that rather than wait till the last minute and try and sort it out. So if you have any objections to what we penciled you in for, let me know and we can adjust it. But it's basically the same thing. A discussion about an update on core, core and in the opening session were the two things you kind of mainly did last time. Mm-hmm. Anybody else, we really need people to step up with just topics that they would like to facilitate a discussion on. So let us know in Zulip, or when you register, you can indicate what topics you want to facilitate. That's it.
Yep. Very nice very nice event site. Yeah, the next step's very exciting. Suggest a discussion topic. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, let's see. So status update. So 119.2 will be the next bug fix release that we don't have a particularly scheduled timeline for. However, I think that it will probably be in the very, very near future. We've had a big issue that has been causing a lot of people some problems with backup and migrate, that our PHP 8 support efforts have made it so that backup and migrate cannot restore backups that have been created. And the issue that we have for that is 5094. And the solution that we have in place, there's a pull request that is marked RTBC that has been tested and shown successful by several different people. Simply adds a wrapper around the old method that used to be there, and then calls the child class. That PDO class has basically been wrapped inside of the abstraction layer in a way that no longer makes it accessible. And the fix is simply that we add a wrapper method from the parent class down to the child class for the prepare method that allows backup and migrate to do the database table substitutions specifically without doing anything else that the abstraction layer normally does. So that fix seems like it's been approved. There's this follow-up issue to talk about whether or not we need to surface any other API functions, low-level PDO functions, to the database abstraction layer. But as this is the only major regression and this fixes the problem, we're thinking that we'll probably merge that one in as is, and then do follow-ups for any other concerns. So that's exciting. And once that gets in, I think that we should probably make the 119.2 release pretty quickly afterwards, because that has been first of all, we don't like regressions in the first place, and it goes counter to literally our #1 philosophical goal of backwards compatibility is important. And so we want to get that fixed as quickly as possible. Let's see. Also in the 119.2 milestone, if I just take a look in GitHub, I'm sorry, not in the 119.2, but the RTBC queue has several items that are all ready to go. If I can find the label, here we go. Let's see. The PHP 8 backup and migrate issue. There's one of those small label adjustments on a button for the canceling an account feature. We're just going to change the label on that. Some semantic structure in the markup on the dashboard. Automatically clearing caches when you change an account setting. So all very minor issues that are all ready to be committed. And there's also a 1.20 issue, bug folders issue, actually. The separating the layout hooks is ready to go into 1.20. So very exciting. Our TBCQ is where I live. And so I'm sorry that I like to talk about those items, because that's usually where I fit into the process to actually do the final review and merging. So all of those look like they're really set to go. So I'm excited to get those items in. Let's see. I don't have anything else really for 119.2. We do have full PHP 8 support issue 5076 that is still open. Although Backdrop will run on PHP 8, it won't pass all current tests. And so issue 5076 is the meta issue for follow-ups to continue building out full PHP 8 support. There are a couple of Drupal 7 patches that we have yet to be ported. That fix some issues, and then there's just other ones that are Backdrop specific, that getting complete test coverage is what it will take to get that issue closed. 1.20 is the next minor release of Backdrop. It'll be coming out September 15th, 2021. We already talked about bug folders, fixing of the layout module code. That issue is 5067. Currently is RTBC and should be going in pretty quickly. Robert, do you have anything you want to add about that, or any plans that you can fill us in on once that issue is resolved? Do you have any other thoughts for where you're going to take things from here?
Yeah, so that should just fix the preview issue. I mean, in terms of how an existing installation works, they'll fix the preview issue. Hopefully, there's no way of hidden breaking it, but it's kind of a gating item for further improvements in layout wildcard, which is contrib module. And there's one of the things to do upgrades to layout wildcard. I want to do them based on that foundation because it's a much more robust foundation. We can throw away a lot of duplicated code. And then we can also plan to use that to maybe try out some broadening of the ways you can use wildcards to use the same layout in multiple places. And we can kind of use the contrib module as a test bed to see if people like it, and then maybe consider some of the aspects that we like can migrate into core, and things that seem special purpose, leave them in layout wildcard.
Excellent. Yeah, it sounds like a great plan. Is that likely to be like a 2.0 version of the module?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Let's see. Let's move on to the next item, which is the exposing the file name filter for the media library dialog. Issue number is 3293. Laren is the advocate for this issue. Laren recently overcame the technical hurdle of this issue of finding out why views exposed filters weren't working inside of the media library dialog. And he's filed a pull request that fixes this issue in 3293, and I think several people have tested it out. It seems like it mostly works. Looks like Indigo Zella did a little bit of testing and found that there were some small issues yet. But there's also just a whole separate discussion where another approach was suggested by El Muche that uses an iframe instead of using instead of loading the content directly into the modal dialog. So I think that that in a way kind of put us into a position where it's like now we have two different things to test. The troubling thing about El Muche's suggestions thus far is that although he's written up extensively how to set up the system, we don't have a pull request that demonstrates it. And with a pull request, it would make it so that we could get a sandbox and then easily test it. So I think the testing is trending towards the solution that Laren has created, just because there's a pull request for it. People can test it out in the sandbox. And technically, it's not very different from what we were doing already. So I'm not totally sure what to do about this one. I think maybe posting an issue saying that, we should use the solution that we already have, and then maybe separate out the iframe alternative. to a second issue, it seems like it would be a good idea. The inability to put a view inside of the media dialog is kind of a limiting issue with the way that you interact with images in Backdrop. And this opens the door not just to adding the file name, but adding any filtering that you want, making it so that all of Vue's exposed filters work inside of the media library dialog. So it seems like, this is actually a bug that needs to be fixed, and we should get in a fix to that. And then if we want to change the way that it works to allow for additional flexibility, I'm not even sure what that would be using the iframe approach, then we can separate that out. Do you guys have any other thoughts or feedback on that issue? I'm not sure if you guys are tracking that any more closely. No? Okay. All right. And then 1.20, I'm looking at the milestone over on GitHub. Other items that are in here include the advanced caching, that's cache tags and cache max age header, that pull request that needs review. Josef is the advocate for this one, although last I heard him talk about it, he expressed that he, quote, does not like this pull request or does not like this issue. And I think it's probably because of the complexity of it that he might have concerns about maintaining this approach in the future, which if you've done any Drupal 8 or 9 work, you'll know that cache tags is a double-edged sword because it adds some nice capabilities to make it so that you can clear your caches, but good gravy does it cause issues, like with just like caches not getting invalidated when they're supposed to, and having so many layers of caching you can never really tell where things are coming from. Sorry, I'm actively fighting that problem like today, so it's top of my mind how cache tags aren't always your friends. Let's see, but we don't have any updates on that issue. It's issue 4127. There is an issue to add a lot more visibility conditions to layout module, issue 4728. This pull request hasn't been worked on recently, but it does have something that is underway to make it so that you could use all kinds of conditions and capabilities of fields to determine when blocks should or should not show up inside of a layout. So those are the only issues that we have slated for 1.20. We're definitely still in the anything could happen phase of the development cycle, where any issue to be prioritized for 1.20 simply needs an advocate, someone that is going to basically like champion for a particular issue. It's not hard to be an advocate. You edit the issue and then put yourself as an advocate, like literally you type it into the summary of the issue. And then that basically gives you the permission, if you will, to mark something into the 1.20 milestone. And that's all I've got for the 1.20 updates. Let's see. We also have the initiatives. The long-running initiative right now is Telemetry. Tim is the lead on that. And I know, Tim, you've been busy with Backdrop Live and also just life and work. I'm not sure if we have any updates on Telemetry. No? Okay.
None, other than we'll talk about it at Backdrop Live. We have a session scheduled.
Great. All right. Yeah, I'll join in with my own like long-running thing. Telemetry is one of the things that I've been working on long-running as well. And I think that during the planning meetings for 1.20 earlier this month, I reiterated my commitment to automatic updates as being something that I strongly want to continue proceeding work on. So it's my priority. Other than the normal committer tasks, automatic updates are issues that I'm definitely, if I'm going to work on something, it's going to be that area. So yeah, excited to move forward. That it's possible that I'll start picking out particular issues to say I'm an advocate for, so that we can actually talk about them specifically. Well, that is the complete agenda for today. We did start a bit late, so we don't have time to discuss much else. We can go ahead and wrap up early unless there's anything else you guys want to discuss, and I'm going to use that time to make a forum post and then cross-link next week's agenda. And we'll see how that works out. So it's something that we can try. I guess, Tim, we don't actually have a category for agendas yet.
On the forum?
On the
No.
forum.
Yeah.
Let's see. So where would be the best place to do it? Meetups and events? Does that seem fair?
Oh, sure, that would work.
Okay, well, let's just put it into meetups and events for the time being. And if this proves to be successful, then possibly we can split it out into a dedicated topic.
Sure.
Okay, well, thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll catch you all next week.